The Wheel of Time, episode 5. Tyler, the Wheel of Time, episode 5 is called Blood Calls Blood. Shall I recap?
Please do.
Okay. Tyler, the Aes Sedai and Moiraine bury Kerene, the green Ajab that you and I came to know and love in the previous episode.
Tragic loss.
And the soldiers who attempted to rescue Logain. Lan, Moiraine, Nynaeve, and the Aes Sedai travel to Tar Valon. Not Tar Valon, as the show has decided to call it, because I've listened to the audiobooks and have been calling it Tar Valon for years. And the White Tower for a month. Moiraine warns Nynaeve of the Aes Sedai's political machinations. The Whitecloaks waylay Perrin and Egwene, and the Tinkers. I can't wait to talk about that one. With Aram's help, Perrin and Egwene escape, but are captured by Eamon Valda. Valda suspects Egwene can channel. He tortures Perrin to force Egwene to use the One Power. Egwene and Perrin escape when wolves attack the camp. Perrin and the wolves seem connected. Rand and Matt arrive at Tar Valon, where Rand is disturbed by Matt's odd behavior. Rand meets Loial and Ogier, who notes that Rand looks like an Aiel. Loial helps Nyneave reunite with Matt and Rand. Logain is paraded around Tar Valon, laughing madly when he notices Rand and Matt watching. Lan and the other warders console Steppen, Kerene's warder, for a very long time. Moiraine and Alanna discuss Steppen's mental state and whether or not he should join a homosexual four-way is kind of what they were talking about him joining.
I thought it was a three-way, but four-way maybe two. Yeah, but it was something like that. Yep.
Yeah. And Alanna warns Moiraine of both Liandrin's motives and the impending return of Siuan Sanche. The following morning, Lan finds Steppen dead by suicide. Lan serves as the primary mourner at Steppen's funeral and is overcome with grief. We're definitely going to talk about that as well. But let's start with the cold open, which is a young girl in a little fishing hut.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So wait, is that one?
I believe so.
No, that's episode 6.
No, is it? What am I talking about?
My God, did you do this last time? Do you even know what you're doing over there? My gosh.
You're right. It's the Flame of Tar Valon is the one. So
she's Louise.
Is there a cold open in this episode?
Well, I think the first thing we see is the Aes Sedai that died that we all really, really cared about and really knew a lot about, and so it's a really emotional loss. We see her warder, who we also know very well, looting her body, stealing stuff from her. I think he takes her ring. I think he found like a half a bag of Skittles in her pocket or something.
Took her watch.
He takes the watch. It was a knockoff Rolex, but he could probably still get something. I mean, I don't blame the guy. He's out of the job, right? So he's got to pawn this shit. He's got to make money somehow, right?
He's got to make money.
You're right. I mean, it's not like he can be a warder again. His Aes Sedai is dead, right? What are you going to put that on your resume? No.
Yeah, I guarded an Aes Sedai and she got killed.
Yeah, right. Like that she did. So he was looting the body, but I mean, I think we can all understand, sometimes tough times call for some kind of harsh measures. But then after that, I think we jumped to like a month later. And, one thing that we mentioned, so they're all just kind of like on the trail. Nothing's happened for the last month. So they jump to things that are, really happening. They're just riding on horses. They're just kind of talking. So we think this is a good time to jump back in a month later. We find out Lan says Nynaeve and him aren't talking. Definitely appears to be a lot of sexual energy between them. And I find this very hard to believe that they're not talking. I mean, I think it's pretty much safe to assume at this point that Justin, much like Will Smith in his 1997 debut solo album, Big Willie Style, they're getting jiggy with it.
You think so? I love Lan. I love Lan.
Love Lan. Right. I just have to assume they're bumping uglies because they have just established such an emotional, deep rapport for one another. Because
there's so much character building, so many character building moments in the show. Yes. So obviously, I assume this episode we're going to learn so much about the Emond's Field 5. We're going to learn about Rand and Matt and Perrin. We're going to learn about Nynaeve and Egwene. We're going to really focus on Moiraine. We're going to talk about the main characters.
Actually, that doesn't really happen at all. One thing that does happen, though, Kid runs into Matt, and like Matt gets really snappy with him because that kid was a little bastard. They just like ran into him in an open field.
I know. What a bitch.
And we're supposed to be I think, made to think like, oh, Matt's really flying off the hand. There's literally nothing around. There's nothing around. They're in a field. It's not like they're in a hallway, right, where the kid is kind of weaving to maybe get out from the way someone else and bumps into it. They're in a field. The kid like ran directly at him and ran into him.
What's Matt supposed to do?
Like pushes him away. And yeah, the kid's a little bastard. I mean, he's like that little kid in A League of Their Own, going down the aisles, just slapping people in the back.
Stillwell Angel.
Stillwell Angel. That's him.
Gonna lose.
He's got
I love that when
all over his
he
face.
throws the glove and hits him in the face at the end. The kid stumbles and then he falls. Right. He's like, I got him.
See, but that's the thing. That's Matt right there.
But we laugh when Jimmy Dugan does it.
Exactly.
Why?
And when Jimmy
Because he's played by Tom Hanks.
Right. And do we think Jimmy Dugan is the bad guy because he finally shut that little brat up? No, that kid was a brat, and this kid is a brat too. And so Matt did nothing wrong. I don't see any problems here.
We will defend Matt to the death on that particular issue.
Absolutely,
yes.
we will. And so that's it. Now I think we see Tar. How do they pronounce it? Tar Valon.
Well, they say Tar Valon.
They say Tar Valon.
In the audiobooks, they say Tar Valon.
And so we see Tar Valon and
Tar
Valon. And I got to tell you,
Tar Valon.
I see
Tar Valon.
That place, gorgeous, right? But then all I could think about was the property values have to be absolutely insane there. I mean, beautiful property. I mean, great views, everything. Just
location.
I can't even imagine how much it would cost to buy some real estate there. I have picked up a small little lot though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm thinking about building on it. Just a little tiny, maybe like a duplex, start renting it out or something. It's a little more on the outskirts. It's a bit of a fixer-upper. But
they call that house hacking. That's a good idea. You could live in one rent out the upper level.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that's
smart.
So I'm going to try that. But like right in the heart of the city, oh my God. I mean, you're talking 300,000-400,000 rupees, or I don't know what they deal in there. What do they deal with?
Rupees.
Rupees.
That's from The Legend of Zelda.
Some kind of coin, I'm sure, something like that. But yeah, so they go there, eat something that's randomly handed to him in the streets. Mm-hmm. I assume that lady handed him soap because he was looking pretty dirty and he just bit into it because he's an idiot. But maybe he's an idiot. We don't really know much about Rand at this point. Haven't really done anything with his character as of yet.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. Don't really do anything there. Then we jump to the children, right? We go to the Children of the Light. We see what's his name, Eamon Valda, the guy who ate the blowfish or whatever it was earlier in an earlier
the chicken with the bones, the little baby chicken with the bones, or whatever it was.
Yeah, and
with the bones.
This is one of my favorite parts of the whole episode, right? So Eamon Valda stops the hippies, right? So the carnies,
the tankers, yes,
the tankers, the carnies, whatever you want to call them, the traveling circus carnies,
same thing.
Whatever, circus folk, whatever. And so he's like, how do you plan on stopping me? And so they lock arms and form a hippie drum circle. Like that's going to do absolutely anything. And to show you how little it does, they don't just get out swords or weapons to slaughter them. They just go on a bitch slapping spree. just bitch slap all of them out of the way. It was just the funniest thing I had ever seen in my entire life. They form a little hippie drum circle and he just starts bitch slapping them all. I'm like, oh my God.
Perrin and Egwene are like, we're out of here.
What did they think was going to happen? That was really the best case scenario because he could have just slaughtered them all right there. And really nice of him just to go slapping them.
I thought it'd been so much funnier if Valda and the Whitecloaks, after they locked arms, if they were like, thwarted again.
They try to walk through it and they're just like, what the hell? Like, hey, God, unlock your arms, guys. Wait. I see them right. They're getting away. Unlock your arms. God.
Someone. Damn it.
Damn
you, arm locking.
Somehow they make it through the locked arms. And Eamon was just having nothing of their Birkenstocks and their fish t-shirts and their hacky sacks. Just bitch slap them all.
They're kind, bud.
They're kind, bud. Exactly. He was having absolutely none of it. And then, so they start running. So, Perrin and Egwene, they take off with one of the other carnies. And then this is another thing. Then somehow, Justin, a horse came quietly out of nowhere at a full gallop, and they just don't hear it at all.
Caught him by surprise
and knocks the hippie over. Like seriously, it was a horse at a full gallop that they just there's no sound.
Easy explanation. Movie magic. That's all it is. That's movie magic. Yeah.
Oh, so it was the movie casting magical spells over these horses to make sure that there was absolutely no sound whatsoever. That a fully galloping, full-sized horse just totally caught them by surprise. Now
Tyler, question for you. Yeah, you've seen Jurassic Park, right? Steven Spielberg.
I've heard it.
Now you know that when the T-Rex is within 100 yards, that typically you hear a smash, you feel a vibration, everything around you vibrates.
Water ripples, yes.
Water ripples. And that final scene when the T-Rex swipes the raptor out from inside a building that the T-Rex was not in.
Yeah.
Didn't you find it a little surprising that there was not a single sound, a single vibration, a single footprint? He didn't come burling through the door, that all of a sudden there was a T-Rex there. You know how? How did that happen, Tyler?
You ignorant slut, Justin. The reason why, you clearly know nothing about dinosaurs and how they hunt. The T-Rex is an expert hunter, Justin.
Okay.
So when the T-Rex is in hunting mode, it'll walk on the sides of its soles so that it can walk very quietly. And they're known for their sneakiness, Justin. So like when they're stalking their prey, he's walking on the sides. And he's almost like a rolling action.
And then our hero saw him, and the T-Rex, he was like, shh.
Right. Well, he couldn't. It was shh. He had to do it kind of down here. It was a shh because he can't get it at because he's got short arms. But yeah, that's it. So now horses have no such ability, Justin. They are not T-Rexes. They cannot stalk prey with the adroitness of a T-Rex. Okay, and the stealth of a T-Rex. So just not buying it for one bit. But so anyway, we have that happen. Then what do we do? We meet an ogre or an Ogier. Ogier. An Ogier.
Yes.
It's like an ogre, only it's said differently.
Only the special effects are much worse.
Oh my God. This has to be the worst looking thing in the entire show.
Absolutely terrible. I loved Loial's character in the books. He's just that bumbling guy who just can't shut up. He's the know-it-all. He's got to talk. He takes forever to do everything. But he's just like a great character. He's a great exposition dump character. That's basically what Loial serves in the books. He's the exposition dump. That's what he does.
Exactly.
But then when you meet him, oh my God! And he turned around. So Rand sees him, and he turns around, and I was like,
scariest thing in the show. Like we've had dreams where we apparently see the Dark One with flaming eyes, and I'm like, meh. I see this Ogier turn over, and I'm like, Jesus, oh my God. I mean, he did not look like anything like they described in the book. Wasn't he supposed to be gigantic?
Well, he's supposed to be like 10 feet tall, but they were. I mean, obviously, you're going to have him played by a regular actor, and so it's like I knew, but they didn't even get a guy that's that big. They could have got. You could have got a guy like they got the Mountain to play the Mountain in Game of Thrones. Like, go get somebody who's like 7 feet tall at least. Get the Big Show to come in there and play Loial, right?
Put him on, get some platform shoes on him to make him even taller as well.
Instead, they give him these dumb like elf shoes that curl at the tip, so when he walks, it looks so stupid. Oh,
it looks terrible.
And, now, that being said, he looks terrible. He acts just like Loial. Like,
he does. That is fine. Yeah.
The actor does a good job, like sounding like him, like talking and trailing off in the background while everyone's like ignoring him. Like he does a great job.
He does do that just fine.
But the look, the makeup,
I know. My God. I mean,
could you imagine Game of Thrones having a character look that silly? Like there's no way they would do it.
Painful, man. I mean, Eddie Murphy in like The Nutty Professor came out like a million years ago, and like that makeup looked far better. Like, how is it that again in 2020, soon to be 2022, the makeup looks so freaking horrible, and you pick someone that's the same size. And honestly, like The Nutty Professor, he's learned, he's kind, right, funny. Maybe that's what they were going for. It was a bit of a Nutty Professor thing, and they just took it a little too far. It made him look a little too much like the Nutty Professor, and nothing like the character he's supposed to be. But to your point, though, at least he acts like the character.
The
they do a good job.
Portrayed him well.
Yes.
The makeup and the design and everything, the curly, crazy carrot top hair, and all of just terrible, absolutely terrible, epic fail.
So,
Amazon.
but what did you think of it though? Yeah, it was bad.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
It was pretty bad. But then we go back to Eamon Valda. We go back to he's in a tent. He's going to start torturing some fools. That's what he does. And we do see he's a real foodie. He's a real foodie. You know, we see him eating that spiked thing. He cooked a lady in one of the earlier episodes. Now he's eating.
That's right.
He's eating. He's just casually munching an entire pig. Like, think about that for a second, Justin. He has an entire pig. It's not like this is at a big dinner table or something. There's other.
Right.
This is like his office, and he just has an entire pig just sitting there that he's just casually eating. Like, you almost got to tip your cap at that kind of a
questioners have big appetites, I guess.
Right. I get torturers, right? I mean,
acting wise, he does a great job.
Oh, he does.
The guy who plays Valda does a great job.
Does absolutely.
Unlike Perrin. Now, I have to say. Yeah. This might be an unpopular opinion. We have many unpopular opinions when it comes to us, to the Wheel of Time.
I think we've got the pulse of the people.
But now I will say that the actor who plays Rand, everybody was comparing him to Hayden Christensen in Star Wars. Yeah. And what I'll say is he acts a lot like Rand, because Rand is kind of emotional and whiny in the books. And so he is kind of like him, kind of stoic, but kind of whiny, kind of quiet, but kind of whiny. It's like he does kind of play Rand the way Rand should be played.
Especially early on. Yeah.
And so, but the guy who plays Perrin, I feel like he's always just like,
right.
Always just like has like a dumb look on his face. Like, and I hate it. Every time he looks up, and it doesn't matter if it's like if he's hurt or he's not hurt or he's having a conversation with someone, he just always seems like he has a dumb look on his face, and I don't like it.
But Justin, he can talk to wolves, so
maybe allegedly
that's a pretty big deal.
Spoiler alert.
That gets me thinking, Justin. If you could talk to any animal, Justin, what would it be? If you could talk to if you could pick. And you could tell you only one. You can't you're not Dr. Doolittle, right? You can't talk to them all. You have to pick a single animal. What would it be? For me, if I had to guess what you would say, I would think guinea pigs. That way you can talk them through getting out of Uranus. So you don't have to lure them out.
A close second. Richard Gere and I used to be good friends.
Right.
It would be a kinkajou, specifically the kinkajou from that movie on Netflix. What is it called? Have you watched this with Max? With the singing kinkajou? And he's actually voiced by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I would want him to be, so that way I could sing and hang out with Lin-Manuel Miranda as a kinkajou.
You know what I'm saying? Is it called Vivo?
Vivo, yes.
Yay.
So the Kinkajou Vivo, that's who I would want to talk to, because then I could hang out with a Kinkajou version of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and then we could sing Hamilton together, like while we're drinking beer, and it would be really awesome. So.
Wow, that is, and so then gerbils were going to be number 2 on the list.
Close second. Richard Gere and I are also good friends.
All right, well, that is an absolutely wonderful answer, Justin. Now, then, just what we do, we move on to Steppen, and he's the warder who lost his Aes Sedai through his own sheer incompetence. And he's really having a heck of a time, right?
He's having a bad day.
He's having a bad day because, again, he lost his job, right? His Aes Sedai is dead. The ring he pawned, it just melted down. He got almost nothing for it. So he's living on pittance. He's just getting drunk all the time. He's going to Nynaeve for drugs, right? Clearly that looked like marijuana's. To me, it looked like he was smoking some marijuanas.
Marijuanas. Yeah.
I believe that's how the kids say it. And so, it's just tough to see him in such hard times. And I was really hoping that by the end of this, we'd see the warders maybe come together with like an intervention style thing. just like with their box wine and like, pointing in his finger and saying like intervention.
Pajama night. Right. Yeah.
And then like they get him off the drugs and they get him clean. Maybe they play night crawlers together or something. Instead, it wasn't nearly as emotional or fun as that. He ends up killing himself because he was just so bummed about being such a screw up. Yep.
He was really hard on himself for letting the one person that he was supposed to protect,
sworn to protect,
die, and
his entire life's purpose.
He should have been ashamed about that. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and I mean, there's he killed himself, and honestly, sometimes there's a good reason for that. And then all the warders pull like a Marky Mark from Fear style, hitting themselves in the chest thing,
including the Aes Sedai. Moiraine starts also pounding her chest.
Right, I know she starts pulling the Marky Mark too, which was weird. Because I'm like, why are they doing? I believe Marky Mark was doing that so that he could say someone hit him, so that he could like continue to manipulate some young girl.
No, that is so that he could say that like her dad punched him or something.
That's what it was. Yeah.
But I always think of Matthew McConaughey and Wolf of Wall Street. That's
another good one. Another good one where they're just doing he's just doing a bunch of rails all the time, talking about how many.
Yeah, he is.
How many times do you masturbate? 5 times a week. You're gonna need to get those numbers. You know what I mean? So great movie, awesome role from Matthew McConaughey. And that's it. Oh yeah, and then Lan finds him because
Lan finds him dead, right?
Yeah, because he wakes up with a terrible hangover. He's clearly been roofied by Steppen and wakes up next to a dead guy. Steppen, whatever. Steppen? Like I stepped in something?
Schleppen.
Maybe it's on his briefcase. Check his briefcase.
It's a Schlemiel.
Samsonite. God, we were way off. We knew it started with an S, though.
And that warder relationship, Steppen is both the Schlemiel and the Schlemazel.
But so Lan was roofied, wakes up next to a dead guy, and I got to tell you, I've been there multiple times.
Many times, I imagine.
Never fun.
Yeah.
Never fun. I really felt like, I felt for Lan in that moment. Probably the most emotional scene, just understanding what Lan has been through. And I think when you've really lived it yourself, that's when it really resonates for you.
Well, now let's be honest here. Let's be serious. Did you care for that scene? Like where they select one warder to mourn for everyone, and so Lan just kind of sits there and screams. I didn't care for the scene, nor do I really care at all that this particular warder is dead, because they have done nothing to make me invested in his character. He's not even from the books. He's a character the show made up.
So like this is they're just making up characters. You can't do that in shows. You can't
but the whole point is that the show revolves around
real life. And that guy wasn't real.
And around the Emmonsfield 5, Moiraine, Lan. Now, of course, new characters get introduced, and they will be major characters. But, just like in Game of Thrones, you start with a couple of families and a couple of characters, and most of those characters make it through to the end. Yes, some of them die, right? But a lot of the people that die are people that are introduced later. Right? I mean, like Jaime Lannister, of course, survives till the very end. And spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, and Cersei gets it all the way to the end. Tyrion makes it to the end. Jon Snow makes it to the end. Really, Daenerys to the end. Like all the main characters make it to the end. And this is really about the Emmonsfield 5, and it's about Moiraine and Lan.
Well,
right?
I would say.
And so why? I know. Hold on. This is a 14-book series. Now we know it's going to be shortened. We know it's going to be condensed, right? But instead of taking a show like this with a book like this and giving them 10-hour-long episodes or 12 episodes or 15 episodes, they only get 8. And in that small amount of time, which they have already rushed things exponentially. Again, I actually wish we hadn't read the books yet. I wish we hadn't started reading the books. I think I would enjoy the show more. Although, we'll talk about this later too, I do think it's a little weirdly low budget looking sometimes. Why are you spending
$10 million an episode?
But it doesn't look like they're spending $10 million an episode.
Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks bad. It's just a hit or miss. Yeah.
And so why are we spending almost an entire episode on Steppen? Is it to show the bond between the warder and the Aes Sedai? Because he could have just went crazy and gone and killed himself, and that would have shown that he goes crazy. You didn't have to drag it out through an entire episode. Learn about Rand. Let's learn about Matt or Perrin or Egwene. Let's learn about them.
Well, and that relationship is already going to be understood through Lan and Moiraine's relationship, which is going to be continue to be fostered over time through episodes. So you don't really need to show that any more than you're already going to through telling their story. It's really weak sauce, in my opinion. So, like you brought up Game of Thrones and how a lot of main characters made it to the end. Well, I would say some did, but a bunch of main characters die in that show, and then new main characters emerge. Right. So
well, of course, course. But I'm saying,
so like you're talking about, so you're talking about like Jon Snow, people like that who make it to the end. Yeah, but he wasn't really a main character. He developed into a main character, and one that he's one of the few that you see as one. I'd say the biggest main character that makes to the end, who's just kind of a character you like right from the get-go, is Tyrion, right? And he's one that survives.
You like Tyrion from episode 1.
Yeah, but then it's like, obviously Ned Stark was the main character and Robert Baratheon was a main character. That's who you spend most of the episodes learning about, revolving around, and you learn about these other characters through them, but then they die, and then new main characters emerge. And then
that's true.
And then they die, because then you get like Robb Stark and stuff, and then they die, and then you're kind of like, okay, now you feel like you know where the landscape is, and then still more of those characters die. But then some of them that make it to the end were indeed around in the beginning, but they weren't in the limelight like they were towards the end. So there really were stakes, like characters that you really liked in that show and that you learned about and that you were emotionally invested in were killed, and that hurt.
Well,
and that's
of course, because there were a lot of main characters. But when you look back at like the final season or the final battle, and as things are coming down, you're like, it's Jon Snow and it's Sansa and it's Arya all around from the beginning. And you look at the Lannisters and you're like, Jaime and Cersei and Tyrion are all still there. And you look and you're like, Daenerys is still there. And it's like, so really a lot. Now, of course, certain people serve a purpose, right? Like Ned Stark served a purpose. This doesn't have to be a Game of Thrones, video.
We're just going to turn it into that.
He served the Dumbledore, the, Gandalf. He served that wise old character whose death propels all the other characters into the story.
I would still, of course, but I would still say, in that show there were real stakes, main characters that you really loved died.
But no one thought he was going to die.
Right, and so those deaths resonated, right? They were felt, and that's honestly what gets you even more hooked into the show. Here, they're like killing people, and they're trying to force a reaction out of you by like spending a lot of time lingering about the Aes Sedai and the warder who you just nothing about. So it's like there are just no state. You don't really care. You don't know these characters, right? It might as well just have been a side character in the background that they killed, but now they're spending a whole episode going over their funeral and stuff. And it's like, you haven't made me care. Why should I care about this? Right.
I agree. And there's something, down the road that we'll talk about in future episode reviews that this point I think is compounded of the show spending too much time on extra characters. Because again, you could even say like, yes, certain stories where it seems like maybe they're main character or they're propelling something else. You say, okay, but let's say Steppen is a one-off character, a character that was created. I don't believe was named in the books. He just was created, and basically him and his Aes Sedai, like it really was a full episode, was all about them.
Yeah.
And there was lots of scenes with him and lots of dialogue with him, and it was just like, man,
like, Lan was fucking tore up. Like,
and it's like, do you even really know this guy?
That's what I mean. It's like you just saw him. Like you guys were acquaintances. Like, my God, if like some people died that I knew that like you worked with for a long time, and it's like, oh, that'd be really emotional. I wouldn't be marking myself in the chest while screaming to the sky when they die. Like, I mean, come on, you haven't done enough. See, the marking makes more sense because it was more aggressive. You know what I mean? That theirs wasn't so much the Matthew McConaughey. It would have been just as appropriate or inappropriate, however you want to say it. Didn't make any sense, Justin. They had not developed those character relationships to warrant that kind of a spectacle for these two characters that we barely know having died. A lot of people have died so far. We don't know them, so we're not spending a lot of time on them. They decided to spend an episode on these deaths for characters we barely know.
I agree.
What are you doing?
Crazy. Hopefully it gets better and we won't start with a cold open on another character that may not be a main character. We're going to learn about the Emmonsfield 5 and our main characters next episode. Right? Probably
Justin,
not.
have I got a treat for you for the next episode?
Oh, I can't wait.